What's up, YouTubers? Matthew the King 411 here. Time for the spoiler review of Spider-Man: Far From Home. Oh my goodness, this movie was amazing. No pun intended. And this movie was so great, guys. So it opens up in a scene with Nick Fury and I cannot think of her name. I can't think of her name, guys. The girl that's always with Nick Fury, but I just cannot think of her name to save my life right now. So it opens up with them in Mexico, and they got a call that there's some terrorizing things going on there. So Nick Fury goes to check it out, and when he gets there, he realizes that one of the Earth's elements, because there's Earth, water, and fire. The Earth element has destroyed a lot of Mexico, and once they see the Earth element come out of the ground, they start shooting at it, and then Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio, comes in to save the day and destroys the element. And then we start the actual movie. The movie starts off with the school newscast, basically explaining what happened about everybody turning to dust. They had a name for it, and I can't remember the name. Like, this movie was jam-packed with so much action. It was hard to remember every single detail about the movie, but they had a name for it. So half the school got wiped out, and then they all reappeared, and things like that. So it did affect things, because people that wiped out obviously didn't come back till like 5 years later, and this one kid made a joke about it. He was like, yo, it's kind of weird, because my little brother is now my older brother because of the whole time thing. I was like, that's kind of funny. But this movie did have a lot of comical parts in it. And then then it shows the scene. Spider-Man is at a homeless fundraiser with Aunt May. He's in his Iron Spider suit, and they're raising money for people that lost their homes and things like that during the snap. I'm just going to call it the snap. And then, of course, raising money for the homeless people. So a good benefit. The Happy comes in with a big check for $500,000 for Pepper Potts. Him and Aunt May start flirting with each other, and of course, you already know that they have a connection going on. And Peter Parker's like, what's going on? What's going on? So he puts on his spider suit, goes out there, talks to people, meets fans and things like that. And news reporters kept asking him, hey, now that Tony Stark's gone, are you stepping up to take his place? They're like, if there's another catastrophic event, how do you plan on stopping it? All these questions that was overwhelming for him that he couldn't answer, because he was thinking about Tony Stark too much. So he web slinged out of there because he needed time to think. And then he's talking to Ned, which is his best friend, in the next scene about their trip to Europe and what he plans on doing. About how he's going to get a special flower necklace made for MJ, take her to the top of the Eiffel Tower, and then tell her how he feels. And Ned's like, that's a dumb plan. Ned's like, dude, we are American bachelors in London. Like, no, you don't have a girlfriend? Absolutely not. And, all right, put her down. And he's like, there's my daughter. And he's like, we're American bachelors in England. England chicks love Americans. And Peter's like, are you sure about that? I kind of thought that was funny because, Tom Holland is English, and yeah, so I think that was kind of like a little bit of a joke there. So they plan on their school trip, and Peter's got everything lined out. So they get on the plane to go to England, and while they're on the plane, Peter tries to get Ned to come up with a plan so they can swap seats, so that way he can go sit by an MJ so they can get a connection, because Peter got a dual headphone jack so they can watch movies together and everything. And Peter had all this stuff planned out. So Ned goes back there to the teacher. He's like, there's not to the teacher, but to the girl that's sitting next to MJ. I can't think of her name. She's the school news reporter girl. And I'll just call her reporter girl. And so he's like, hey, MJ, the woman in front of us is wearing a lot of perfume, and Peter is allergic to it. So if you don't mind, letting Peter come back here. And, he looked at the reporter girl and said, you switch me seats. And then MJ's like, oh, okay, like confused as can be about that. So the teacher overheard him, and he's like, "Oh, Peter's got a perfume allergy. Oh, that is something not to be messed with." He goes, "Peter, come on, come on." So they move to the very back of the plane to sit back there, and then there's an Asian boy on there, which everybody remembers him from the first movie. If you remember at the very end when Happy comes to Peter's school and he meets him in the bathroom. And he meets him in the bathroom, and then there's that little Asian boy that comes out that's washing his hands and wiping them off and all that. He's now grown up and bigger in the second movie, and he's sitting there. He likes MJ too, so he tries to get with MJ also. Silly. And he tries to get with MJ also because he has a thing for her just like Peter does. So, all that happens. So they get to England, and they land. Get on the boat to get to their hotel, and it's probably the dumpiest, most awful hotel that you could ask for, most definitely. And once they get there and they're walking around touring the city and all that, then the water element comes out of the water and it starts terrorizing and tearing up the city. And then Peter's like, "Oh, shoot, like, this is my vacation. I don't want to do nothing." And that's when Mysterio flies in and starts fighting the water elements. And then, of course, Spider-Man helps out. But Peter left his suit at the hotel. He didn't even want to bring it, but Aunt May packed it anyways for him. And Peter left his suit at the hotel, so he just finds a masquerade mask and puts it on. Like, that's not obvious at all. Hang on. Like, that's not obvious at all. So he helps Mysterio, and then Mysterio vanishes. Everybody's cheering like, "Woo, yeah! Yeah!" And they're all cheering. They're all happy and stuff like that. So Peter goes up. Peter goes up to his room, and when he goes up to his room, him and Ned are in there, and then Ned gets knocked out with a dart by Nick Fury, because Nick Fury's been trying to call Peter to talk to him. And Nick Fury, of course, if you've seen the trailer, is like, "You're a hard man to reach, Peter Parker." And then he takes him to his little laboratory lair place. There's where Quentin Beck was, aka Mysterio, talking about how he's from a different Earth. The multiverse, and talking about how that exists and all that good stuff. And Spider-Man's all super excited and dorky out and talking about like, "Oh, that's a real thing, like the Spider-Verse and all that. That's awesome." So they're all talking about that. And then he's like, "I like what you did out there." He goes, "Peter?" Or Spider-Man. He goes, "I like what you did out there. You handled yourself really well." So Nick Fury is like, "We need you to come to Prague? I want to say Prague. That's how you pronounce it. I think Prague is how you pronounce it." He's like, "I need you to come there with us." And Peter's like, "No, I appreciate it, but I can't go to Prague. I have plans on what I want to do and all that." And Nick Fury's like, "So you just want to go back on your school trip and all that?" And Peter's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Okay." So the next morning, they all wake up and they're supposed to go to Paris, and then that's where Peter had everything planned out. And then I'm gonna say Prague. If I'm wrong, correct me. I'm very, very sorry. I'm very, very sorry if I'm wrong, but correct me if I am. So they wake up the next morning. They're like, "Hey, change of plans. Our school trip got upgraded. We're going to Prague now." And everybody's like, "What?" And they're like, "Oh." And then some people was like, "Yeah." So Nick Fury planned it. He made it to where their trip to Paris got canceled, and they had to go to Prague. So I thought that was quite funny. But they get there and they're staying at a nice hotel. Everybody has their own rooms now, and because that's where the next element's going to be, which is fire. The fire element, if it conducts any type of metal, it would destroy the planet. And Mysterio said that's how his planet was destroyed, was that the fire element wiped out his entire planet. So that's why he came to our Earth and is going to try to stop it. So they get there, they get ready to start planning the events, talk it over, asking what their plan is. And Peter's like, Peter lets Nick Fury know, like, "Hey, I can't wear my spider suit because that's going to look weird that Spider-Man is here in England, it'd be suspicious." So it's like, "Oh, yeah, okay, I'll fix it." So when they get on the bus and Frug, it goes into this little shack area with a woman, and she's like, "Oh, I made you a new suit," and she's like, "Put it on now." And Peter's like, I'm pretty sure it'll fit." She goes, "No, take your clothes off, put it on now." He's like, "Oh, okay." While she's just staring at him, so he starts stripping to put the clothes on. When he takes his pants off, and that dude who was in the bathroom, he comes out, and he see Peter there without his pants on, and that girl, the Asian dude, takes a picture so he can send it to MJ, so that way MJ is like, "Oh, shit." So they get back on the bus, and Peter has a gift. When he opens it up, it's Tony Stark's glasses that he wears, and on the back of it, it said, God, what did it say exactly? It was like these are for the new Iron Man, or they're like the new Tony Stark. Like pretty much, Tony Stark was giving Peter the new glasses so he could become the new Tony Stark. Basically, is what the note said. So Peter puts it on. The glasses, I believe, are called Edith. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff in this movie. I'm trying to remember everything. And he touches the glasses and he can scan things. He can see if what they're texting. He can tell it what to do. Like, it is a built-in, like, Jarvis, pretty much. It's exactly what it is. And he looks back, and it was funny because he looks back at the Asian dude, and he's going to send a message to MJ, and he's like, the Edith was like, "Is that a target?" He's like, "Yes, he's a target." She goes, "Do you want us to take care of the target?" And Peter's like, "Yes," not thinking what it was going to do. So he was like, "Okay," sending drone from outer space to take care of the target. He's like, "What? No." So a drone shoots out from outer space to come down to the bus to take care of the target, so kill him. So Peter was able to get the drone. He went up above the school bus and told everybody that there was like mountain goats, so everybody was distracted of that. He jumps up, does a cool action shot, shoots the drone down, blows it up, and he comes down and his hair is all like poofy up, and he's wearing the glasses. He looks just like Tony Stark. It was actually quite amazing, and all that was cool. And he got Edith to erase the text message that dude was going to send. So he tried to have proof, and MJ's like, "Yeah, you ain't got no pictures," and all that. He's like, "No, I swear it was right here." They didn't. So they get to where they're going after they check into the hotel and all that, and Peter's trying to keep all of his friends safe. Well, he knows exactly where the fire element's going to be, so he gets Edith, and he's like, "Edith, take care of this." And Edith gets them, all them in the front row tickets to the opera on the night that is the biggest night that they have there for a big party. It's a carnival, so fireworks and dancing and all kinds of stuff. And instead, they all get tickets to the opera, so that way that they're safe and Peter knows that they're going to be safe. Well, Peter gets in there and they all go in there to get their seats and stuff. And Peter looks at MJ. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to go get us these opera glasses, that people wear so they can see the opera better. And, I'll meet back with you at the seat." She saw him take off, and she follows him. And so does Ned, and, Ned's girlfriend. The reporter chick, Ned ends up sitting with her on the plane, and they fall in love and start becoming boyfriend and girlfriend. So they date. After Ned said he wanted to be bachelors in England, so London, all that stuff. So oh my God, it was funny because he ended up falling in love with her, and they became a thing after he gave Peter that long speech about being bachelors. It was quite hysterical. So Ned and his girlfriend leave too because they want to go to the carnival. So once they leave, Peter gets into his spot to wait for the fire element. Well, sure enough, here comes the fire element coming out of the ground, destroying the city. Things like that. Ned and his girlfriend are on the Ferris wheel because Ned lied and was like, "Hey, I don't like crowds." So they get up on the Ferris wheel, and when they're up there, obviously the fire element is terrorizing the city, and it hits the Ferris wheel, and the Ferris wheel is about to fall over. Spider-Man does his thing, holds the Ferris wheel up while Mysterio is fighting the fire element. And once they take care of that, because Mysterio's like, I'm going to do this for my planet. Something I should have done a long time ago. I don't know what the outcome's going to be. He flies into the fire element, does a cool shot, destroys it, And then he's laying over there hurt. Peter makes sure everybody's safe and goes over there. And Mysterio is like, hey, stay with me. Are you okay? It's like, yeah, I'm okay. And then he's like, let's go get a drink. So they go to a bar, and when they get to the bar, they start talking. Peter's just like drinking lemonade because he's like, I'm not 21, I can't drink. And then Mysterio's like, man, like you got to have a drink, we're celebrating. And then he just started thinking, like, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I'm not the next Iron Man. Like, he goes, maybe you are. And then he's like, no, I'm not. He's like, I think you are. So, cut it down. It was short. Peter takes the glasses and programs them to go to Quentin Beck. And once he gives Quentin Beck the glasses, he puts them on. He's like, I really appreciate this. Peter shakes his hand, says thank you very much. Peter leaves, and the bar that they're in starts to become not what it was. It was all like holograms, images, things like that. Mysterio made all that to make it look like a real bar, because he kind of knew that Peter was going to do this. And then he goes into the backstory about how he worked with Tony Stark, and Tony Stark took Quentin Beck's idea with like what Jarvis and all them was, and apparently that was Quentin Beck's idea, and sold it and for millions, and ended up becoming a very, very rich person. So Quentin Beck hated Tony Stark. And then he had a team of people that worked with him that was in the other Iron Man movies and things like that. And it shows a really cool flashback, things like that. Oh, by the way, the beginning of the movie had an end in memory, and it showed some stuff from about Tony Stark, Captain America, and Scarlett Johansson. Wish it would have done something with Stan Lee, but whatever. So back to that. When they were fighting the heat guy, the fire element, one of Mysterio's holographic things fell out, and MJ picked it up. I'm going to get to that in just a second. So Quentin Beck does a big speech saying, like, thanks Peter Parker for giving us our technology back, and now we can make this and advance and all that. And so Mysterio, a lot of people probably know his backstory. He's an actor, and he makes all this stuff, holograms and all these things, but it's super high-tech way to where it actually destroys things, can feel it, make it as real as possible. And everybody thinks he's a hero, and he's not a hero at all. He just wants people to think he is, so that way they can worship him, just like they worship Tony Stark, because he thinks that he deserves to be a hero, even though he's far from being a hero, because he don't have no powers. It's all holographic. It's all holograms. It's all fake. So Peter and MJ, well, of course, after all that happens, they're booking flights to go back to America. They're ending their trip early because all the parents want their kids home because of all the stuff that happened, because that was 2 events that happened. So MJ and Peter go out to our bridge because Peter's like, hey, I want to spend some time with you before we go on this trip because I had something planned. She's like, okay, that's fine. And they get on the bridge, and he's like, there's something I want to tell you, something I really want to tell you. I want to go to Paris, so I can tell you. It's something I should have told you a long time ago. And she's like, you're Spider-Man. And he's like, what? No. She goes, yeah, you're Spider-Man. She goes, what happened in Washington? You just disappeared, and then this trip, you just disappeared. She goes, it's pretty obvious, you're Spider-Man. And then he's like, no, I'm not Spider-Man. And then he kind of got sad. He's like, wait, have you only been watching me because you thought I was Spider-Man? And she's like, yeah. No other reason. He's like, oh. She's like, why? He's like, it don't matter. And then that thing falls out of MJ's backpack, I believe, with, oh, no. She had the spider webs wrapped up, and she handed it to Peter. She's like, Spider-Man's here, because he was in the Spider-Man Noir outfit whenever he fought the fire monster, the fire element, and they called him the Night Monkey. The Night Monkey was his name. And MJ handed that to Peter because it was spider webs, and she's like, Spider-Man's here, he's just in a different costume. And he's like, no, maybe it's a spider monkey. So that's some comical stuff there. But when it fell on the ground, it shot up a hologram of Mysterio fighting this creature. And that's when it clicked to Peter, like, oh shit, I just gave him like the glasses. I trusted him. He's dangerous. So he looked at MJ. He's like, yes, you're right. All right, I'm Spider-Man. She's like, nah, no, are you really? He's like, yes, I'm Spider-Man. She goes, are you just playing? He's like, no, really, I'm Spider-Man. I just made a big mistake. So he goes back to the room. And he's like, Ned, or he's putting on his new Spider-Noir Night Monkey suit. And he tells Ned, hey, let them know that I'm staying with family here in England, and I'm not going to be able to make the plane and go home. And that was his excuse, so that way he can go find Nick Fury and talk to him, tell him about Quentin Beck. And Ned then finds out that MJ knows about Peter and all of his secrets, and then Ned's like, well, that's not really a competition, but just letting you know, I'll fix it in a second. And then he's like, just letting you know, I knew about it first. Not a competition, but I'm no longer, and things like that. So it was comical. It was funny. So he goes and finds Nick Fury. He actually calls. I'm trying to think. How do you? He gets on a train. Yeah, gets on a train to go to Belgium, another part of England where Nick Fury was. And Nick Fury picks him up in a car, and they go to a warehouse. And already, I knew something was up. And they get to the top of the warehouse, and they're talking. And Peter's trying to tell Nick Fury, you know, Quentin Beck's dangerous. He's not who he says he is and all that. And then he's like, instead of Spidey senses in this movie, they call it a Peter tingle. So he's like, I feel my Peter tingle. Like, he feels the Peter. It was funny. He feels the Peter tingle instead of Spidey senses. And that's when Mysterio came out, because Mysterio saw, he was able to track back that device and watch a video of MJ picking it up, and that Peter knows who it is. So now Mysterio's object is to kill Peter, Nick Fury, and MJ. And they did all that. And when they did all that, Mysterio started, it was like the first big fight. So he's got all the holograms up, illusions and all that, making Peter think that he's here when he's not really here, making him see things that's not really there, but it makes Peter feel like it's all real. And Nick Fury and all that, they were all holograms. Like, it was all fake. So they get on, they start fighting, and then Peter gets hit by a train, because that's where Mysterio led him to go, so that way Mysterio can go do his thing. Peter gets hit by a train, he's busted up real bad, he ends up getting put in jail in the Netherlands, which of course everybody's really nice in the Netherlands, even the people he was sharing a jail cell with, because he was sitting on the train track, which is illegal. And they're all super nice, and Peter busts out of the jail cell and to go try to find Nick Fury. Well, Peter calls Happy up, and like, Happy, I need a ride. And they go into the middle of a field, and Peter's there, hurt real bad, busted up, and he gets on the aircraft. And Happy, well, of course, he was like, if you're the real Happy, tell me something that only Happy would know. And Happy's like, well, when we were in the trip, like from Spider-Man Far From Home, whenever they shared a hotel room together, he goes, I noticed you rented some movies, and of course it was blocked out and didn't let me know. But he goes, I know it was adult movies because of the price and how it showed up on the bill. He's like, okay. So they get on the plane, and when they get on the plane, they're talking about, they get on Flash's Instagram, because he's doing stories. So they're in the London airport is where they were heading to. And he's like, oh, my suit, I got a suit. And then Happy's like, don't worry about it. And then the back part of the plane opens up, and then it has like a little, like a tube that opens up that Peter can build his own suit. It showed all kinds of different designs for different suits. He can customize it the way he wants. So Peter's back there building his own suit, which I thought was complete badass, that he was building it exactly how he wanted. So they get to London, and when they get to London, on their way there, Happy coded Nick Fury because Quentin Beck or Mysterio was playing another villain, a Avenger of villains, how he pretty much called it. He goes, I know that there will be casualties, but he goes, I had to have a villain and I have to save everybody so people will think that I really am a hero and I can stop pretty much anything, really. You know, he wants to be Avenger worthy, or have people think that anyways, even though he really isn't. He's just controlling everything through his helmet using technology. He's not even out there fighting. He has no powers. He's just an actor. So they get there, and Peter puts on his new. They go up real high, and Peter jumps out the back and uses his Spidey parachute, which is pretty cool, to start to go inside this new monster, because Peter knows it's all fake, so he can go inside there and turn off all the holograms on it. So Happy lands his plane. Happy has to go save Ned, MJ, and all of Peter's friends, because now, you know, Mysterio's trying to kill them, since they know exactly who Peter is. So they land the plane, and then Mysterio blows up the plane, so that way they can't get on and leave. So once they do that, then they start running off. Spider-Man goes inside the new monster, starts destroying all the drones to get rid of the illusion and hologram, because it's obviously fake. So Happy, MJ, Ned, and Flash are inside like a little museum room trying to keep away from the drone, because the drone followed them trying to kill them, while Peter's trying to fight Quentin Beck. So once all that starts going down, Peter destroys all the drones and finally gets in there and starts fighting Mysterio. Mysterio's throwing illusions out there, so that way Peter will have a harder time fighting him. Peter's like, okay, I'm going to put my Peter... That still makes me laugh. I'm going to put my Peter tingle to its use and fight these drones. So he starts fighting the drones, and then punches Mysterio. Mysterio's laying over there, like, halfway taken out. And then Peter gets a tingle, and then you just see him reach his arm out and grab something. And when he grabbed something, it was Mysterio's hand, because Mysterio tried to shoot Peter, but Peter's tingle made it to where he was knew that he was right there. And then, of course, he got destroyed. Mysterio did. He died, actually. Supposedly died, because the drones blew up and hurt him, and Peter got his glasses back. I'm not sure what they did with Mysterio. I think he just died and they left him there to rot. Pretty much is what it feels like. So Peter gets down there on the ground, and the drone that was chasing MJ and all them got destroyed, or went back to outer space, because they come from the Tony Stark satellite in outer space. MJ finds Peter. Of course, they get their first kiss, which was awkward. It was like a kiss, and then another kiss, and then they finally had a real kiss with each other. And then, I'm trying to think if there's any other... So they get back to the United States, and of course now Peter and MJ are boyfriend and girlfriend. And Ned and his girlfriend look at Peter, they're like, oh, you're such a cute couple. He's like, yeah, maybe we can all go on a double date. He's like, oh, we broke up. And he's like, what? He's like, yeah, we broke up. He goes, just people get older and they grow apart from each other. And it was funny. So next thing you see is Peter sitting down on the couch talking to Aunt May and Happy about, like, so what, are you guys a couple? Like, what's going on? Things like that. And he's like, no, or yeah, we're dating. And she's like, no, we're not dating. Like, and he's like, I got a date. So he puts on a suit, swings down, finds MJ. He's like, all right, MJ. He's like, you ready? She's like, yeah. And then that's where the movie ended, right there. And then the first credit scene, it showed him swinging MJ, and she's like, don't look down, don't look down. And then she gets down, and she's like, I'm not doing that again. And he's like, okay. And then he gets up on a telephone pole, and on the board, there's a newscaster that comes on there and talks about the incidents in London last week with Peter, or with Spider-Man. And Quentin Beck was able to make some video footage to make it seem like that that Spider-Man killed him, and he was able to piece it together, and that's how it seemed. And you hear Spider-Man say eliminate all of them, but he was talking about the drones, but the dude that worked for Quentin Beck pieced it together to make Spider-Man look like the bad guy. And then Quentin Beck, on the last part of the video, he goes, the real identity of Spider-Man is, and then the screen cuts off, and you're like, oh, okay, thank God. And then the screen comes back on, and he's like, the real identity of Spider-Man is Peter Parker And then it shows a picture of Peter Parker on the big screen and that he's Spider-Man. So not everybody knows that he is Spider-Man. And I'm just like, what? And then the best part, James Jameson, or whatever his name is, from the original Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire, made an appearance as JJ in Spider-Man Far From Home. And I was like, yes! I was like, they didn't get a new JJ, they kept the original guy. I got so excited for the Daily Bugle. But now it makes it shape up, and I wonder if how the next Spider-Man's going to play out, you know? Everybody knows who he is now, and they think he's a murderer. So we'll see how that plays out. And then the second ending credit scene show Nick Fury on a beach drinking his drink. He wasn't. He was on a spaceship in outer space with the aliens from Captain Marvel. So the Nick Fury and his partner, the girl, the whole time were aliens, the green aliens from Captain Marvel, the entire time. So it was pretty great. And that was the second ending credit scene. But as far as everything goes, way past 5 out of 5 stars with Spider-Man. There was so much. Like I said, this review don't even do justice. Go out, see the movie. It's great. Thanks for watching.